Evening everyone, welcome back to Norwich Talk for another match reaction. We've just lost 5-0 to Manchester City at the Etihad on the final day of the 1920 Premier League season. Going into the game, I don't think anyone was feeling positive at all. This was a fairly predictable game. Manchester City have lightly spanked us. They could have had 10 today. It was such an easy game for them. I'm not surprised. I'm not angry at this point. I'm still disappointed. I think I'll always be disappointed with the result of this season. It's hard not to be. And if I wasn't, I think that would probably sort of be me dipping my toes in the realm of delusion. But yeah, I'm not going to do that in today's video. I'm not going to be too delusional. But yeah, a really poor game from Norwich City, to be fair. By the end, I think about 80 minutes in, it was still 2-0. I thought, this is fairly dignified. And then by the end, it finished 5-0. Kevin De Bruyne equaling Thierry Henry's record of assists in a single Premier League season. Fair play to him, well done. He scored a couple of unbelievable goals in that game. Really, really good goals, and you expect no less from a player like Kevin De Bruyne. But going into the game, the lineup was almost the exact same as mine, which sort of surprised me, but also didn't, because I don't think Daniel Farke could have done much else. Timu Pukki was the only difference. I would have started Adamida this game, and Timu Pukki started instead. We'll get onto his miss in a minute. But the start of the game from Norwich, it wasn't too bad. We obviously conceded fairly early on. Right after we'd scored a goal, that just completely came back to my mind out of nowhere. When we scored, I did celebrate. I was happy. I think it was more sort of ironic cheers at that point from me. It was a fairly decent goal from Hernandez as well. You know, he's one of them players who needs a bit more end product, and if that goal had stood and if he'd been onside, maybe that would have been a turning point for him. Maybe that would have been a sign of progression for his end product. I think he could be decent for Norwich next season. Obviously, we've signed a winger in Poeta, but I think Hernandez could be decent. And from that offside disallowed goal, it just sort of went downhill for Norwich. Manchester City scoring immediately after was a bit like it was just a slap in the face from the Premier League, and it was one that, you know, was sort of, it felt like it was coming, and it was like, imagine if this happened, then it then went and happened, which is just, at this point, you've got to laugh, otherwise you'll cry. That's just how I feel about this game. If you don't laugh, you will cry. Because it was really not a pleasant one. Manchester City just didn't leave first gear. They didn't need to. They strolled the game with ease. And as I said earlier in the video, I'm not actually that disappointed or angry or anything like that towards Norwich City for this, because, you know, by this point I'd accepted we're just not good enough for the Premier League. And when you face a team like Manchester City on a day like today, which is the final day, so I imagine a few heads are turning towards the break, towards different clubs, whatever. It was never going to end well for Norwich City, and Pep Guardiola's men have just dominated us from start to finish. I saw an interesting tweet as well, which pointed out the fact that this Man City team are 18 points behind Liverpool, which just sort of says how how good Liverpool have been, and it is a massive surprise because Man City have looked really, really good. Slightly different circumstances to the last time we played them, but Man City will probably be comfortably back in contention next season in the Premier League. They've obviously still got the Champions League this year. However, I don't really see them winning it. It'd be nice to see another English team win it, but at the same time, I just don't care at all about European football. I don't mind watching it because sometimes it's pretty good, but on the whole, I just couldn't care less, to be quite honest with you. But moving on back towards the game, Timu Pukki's chance, when he missed or when he hit it straight at Edison, I was just a bit like, really? I felt bad for him, to be honest with you. A goal would have done his confidence the world of good. I think it would have changed his mentality a little bit, maybe, perhaps, and got him into the right I can score goals mentality. However, I think he's quite clearly gone to put it through Edison's legs, and it's a good save from the keeper. He definitely should have scored, absolutely. He had a lot of time to score, which sort of, it worries me a little bit. We've seen his name linked with Besiktas as well in the media recently, so it's a bit like, you know, it's worrying times if you're a Norwich fan. You want Timu Pukki to stay at Norwich, and also just on the pitch, it wasn't a good moment for him. I probably would have taken him off a bit earlier, just to preserve a bit of dignity in that game, because, towards the time of him actually leaving the pitch, or a bit closer to that time, I think he just sort of started to lose it a little bit. He wasn't really, there wasn't much created, was there? But ironically, in the first half there was. I think he had a couple of chances. Obviously, I don't know if the 1-on-1 was in the first half or second half now. I think it was in the first half, and I think the amount of chances we gave to him in the first half was probably the most since the actual restart of football combined, to be honest with you, because we gave him 2 or 3 chances. I think Steeperman played a couple of decent balls, but that was about it for Norwich. That really was it. I think Firmino came on. Jordan Thomas, I know absolutely nothing about Jordan Thomas. Firmino's the centre back, obviously. Josh Martin was unlucky not to score, but at the same time, he's 18 years old. He doesn't need to hang his head in shame there at all. Would have been lovely for him to get a goal. I'm sure he would have loved that. But at the same time, that was one of Norwich's 3 chances or clear chances in the game, and I'm not too frustrated at him. It would have been nice for him to get a goal, but it just wasn't meant to be, was it? And to be quite honest with you, there's not else much more to say about the game. It was very easy for Manchester City. Obviously, Aston Villa have stayed up. Fair play to Villa. They took a massive gamble with the finances this season, because if they'd gone down, I think they might have been in a bit of trouble. But it seems to have paid off. How sustainable that will be, we'll find out next season, won't we? I'm sure Jack Grealish will be delighted to pick up a goal that was fairly crucial. I know it finished 1-1, but it's still a crucial goal, wasn't it? And we'll see Bournemouth and Watford come down with us next season. I'm quite glad Watford have gone down. I don't like Watford at all. Sacking Nigel Pearson was a really weird thing to do. It sort of begs the question, why bring him in the first place if you're going to get rid of him before crunch time? So they've gotten what they deserve. Eddie Howe has finally been exposed for being just a little bit of a fraud in the fact that he spent so much money. I think he should be doing better than what he's done. I don't know how much either team will spend in the Championship next season. I can imagine it'll be a hell of a lot more than Norwich City. And I think you'd find pundits would back them to come up quicker than Norwich City, which is probably fair enough given the sort of financial stature of the clubs. But yeah, next season's going to be an interesting one. Daniel Farke has such a colossal task on his hands in terms of redirecting the players' energy towards positivity and sort of changing the mindset back into a winning one, and just sort of generally improving the mentality on the pitch. Obviously, we've got a few new signings in already. Make sure you go and check out my videos on them, just to get yourselves a bit more informed. There'll be plenty more before the end of the season. I think we'll see a few departures. I say a few. I think we'll see a lot of departures, which will be a good thing for Norwich City. There is the word I keep using is recast of the squad, I think I'll say, rather than just the starting 11. But Norwich City are going to need it. I'd say it's a fairly tight turnaround for next season. It's not really, is it? Norwich City have got a little over, I think, 6 weeks or something like that to prepare for the Championship season. Obviously, that includes getting a pre-season under our belts, and I think that's going to be important for Norwich, because if we can get these new bodies integrated as quickly as possible, we can then kick on to hopefully contend for promotion, because I don't think we'll win the league, purely for the fact that we won it last time we were in it, and I think it's unheard of teams winning it 2 out of 3 seasons, because that just seems fairly unlikely, doesn't it? But the big task next season will, in fact, be, as I just said, getting the new bodies integrated nice and quickly, because this whole Daniel Farke progress thing was that it took a season before getting promoted to get everyone sort of ingrained in the culture, or get the culture ingrained into the team. He's not going to have that time this time around, pure and simple, because the expectation has risen massively. I don't know what that'll be like from the board. Obviously, they quite clearly back him, but I think it will. The fans' expectation has massively risen. I think the boards will have as well. So it'll be an interesting season next season. I'm looking forward to it. Even if we're not going to be there, I am very much looking forward to another season of the Championship. Obviously, the playoffs are tonight as well, so I'll be watching that. That'll be kicking off pretty soon, 20 minutes. That'll be Swansea v Brentford, and it's nice to see the Championship, isn't it? Because it's such a competitive league. Fingers crossed we can have a good season next season. But yeah, at this point, I'm just glad that the Premier League season is over, and I'm looking forward to next. I'll sign off with a bit of admin, which is that over the next couple of weeks, we'll be kicking off the review. We're filming with Along Come Norwich. We're filming with the Pinkham, which is Connor and Dave Freezer. We're also filming with Hodgie, of course, and the Revere end. So we've got some of that coming your way soon. Hopefully, that'll be enjoyable to watch. We'll do our best to be positive about this season, or not even to be positive, but to make it watchable, because that's that'll be a fairly tough task for us, because this season hasn't been a pleasant one for Norwich City. But yeah, that is just about everything. If you could subscribe to the YouTube channel, I would be very, very grateful. If you could like the video, that would also be very kind of you. And just check out any of the videos on the channel, although I don't blame you if you don't want to, because it's a Norwich City channel, and I can imagine thinking about Norwich City isn't something you particularly want to do at the moment, which is fair enough. I'm now going to go and watch the Championship playoffs finals. I hope you do the same. I think it'll be a fairly decent game of football, 2 decent footballing teams. And until next time, we'll see you again very, very soon.